5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello. How are you? Wherever you are in the world, one of those things will apply to you. How the devil are you? How are you feeling after, 6 goals in the game? I mean, bloody hell, that's more than we've scored almost all season. I exaggerate, of course I do. But we're going to be looking back at that, at the Man United Arsenal game, which I had the pleasure of sharing the viewing of with 3 Manchester United fans, 1 Arsenal fans, but he left before extra time. So maybe he knew something we didn't. Look, I'm here this evening. It is the weekend review. I am here with Tom. We will be doing this together, although having said that, although we're both in the show together, we might not actually be doing it at the same time. 1 or 2 technical issues. I may have to nip off for delivery. He may have to nip off because his internet goes down. He is in a different room this week. I just hope he doesn't. He's not in the toilet. But it is the weekend roundup. Let's get Tom in. Good evening, sir. How the devil are you?
I'm okay, mate. And luckily for the audience, there's no signal in the toilet, so I can't sit there scrolling on my phone either. So, yeah, we learn from these mistakes in life, don't we?
We do. We do. I mean, toilet was one place I was worried about. The other one I nearly said was your bedroom.
Yeah, my bedroom's, that could be helpful if I had internet as well. But it survives in there. But I think one thing will not probably do the job, mate. I'm on 4 in here, so...
We did touch on that early, didn't we? Really about your bedroom and what have you. But what a weekend and what a Monday it's been. Really, really busy, which explains our tardiness and our late arrival in some very late news coming up, and then some also some. What's the word I'm looking for? Breaking news. I started this morning. I was 10 minutes into my radio show and realised that there's no sound going out on the radio. So,
mate, I've been 15 minutes behind all day today, and I'm currently down to 9 minutes behind, which is probably in progress. So,
good morning.
you are wherever you are in the world. Wherever you are in the world.
I say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and all that too. You are in different time zones.
We are, mate. It's a devil.
Present's in. Hi, present. How the devil are you? Hope all is well. Well, we will come on to that. Ronald is in. Ronald, how the devil are you, sir? As is Helen, and Wayne is liking my Batman's kapow. Can I just say, hopefully that's not a euphemism for anything else, Wayne, but welcome along. Look, we are going to start with we do the latest news. So let's start with that because there's a fair bit of news to get through today on that one. The first one, of course, you've just mentioned to me. Somehow I'd managed to miss it, and that is this gentleman. We could be having a phase farewell. Look, as football fans, we do tend to live in the moment, don't we? And
Yeah.
you know, Daka got that great goal against. Was it Villa? I can't remember who he scored. Was it who he got that goal against earlier in the season?
Oh my word! Yeah, I think it might have been. To be honest, Chris, I had such a day. I can't remember what I was doing
No.
this morning. Although I think it's either the water I'm drinking down here or something, or I don't know what. But no,
Water.
he's
Yeah.
Oh
Water.
mate, today it has to be coffee. Today it has to be coffee.
But like Daka scored that one goal, and suddenly he was, Alan Shearer. Phased, look,
Yeah.
he got that great goal. Suddenly he's got Brazilian parents. But we have to remember all the games he had. But you did say, I believe, before we had the watch along, that maybe we're putting him in the shop window.
I did, yeah, I did say that because he hasn't really started under Rude at all, had he? And then all of a sudden he's in this game, and you think, oh, that's a bit interesting. And I just find the timing a bit interesting, Chris, because it's like why the wording of it is something along the lines of, and I'm not verbatim on this, but it's a transfer we're looking to make in the summer, irrelevant of where the club is, which is a bit of a bizarre thing to say. It almost suggests, well, does someone want to come and buy him now? Because otherwise, why as a football club would you allow that sort of information out?
I mean, I'm trying to think when his contract expires. It doesn't really say.
2027. 2027.
So it's not like we're saying now so that clubs can come in for him if they're abroad or anything like that.
No, he's not out of contract this summer, so we'd have to get a transfer fee for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Says here, Wout Faes is being tipped to leave Leicester City this summer as the club prepares for a potential clear out of players should they be relegated come May. Apparently, it's a Sky exclusive. I hadn't seen it on Leicestershire Live. I hadn't seen it on Sky either, to be honest with you.
Does it say where it came from in the interview? Was it from a Rude thing, or is it a Faes agent thing? Perhaps this is what we need to ascertain.
In here. In what is claimed a Sky exclusive, Leicester said to have already reached an agreement with Faes to sell him in the event of an interesting offer. Well, that covers all bases, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Yeah.
The report goes on to add that several Italian and German sides are interested in the Belgium, with Lazio the early favourites to land him. The Sky report adds, currently second from bottom in the Premier League, the Foxes are going through a particularly difficult balance, blah, blah, blah. Financial necessity is already pushing the club to anticipate the disaster of relegation, therefore establish the first discussion with the players likely to be sold, a list of which includes Wout Faes. Now,
bit defeatist.
That's to me of an agent's leak, to be honest with you, because in the past we have had Faes come out and sort of believe that he is, prime time Brazilian, and I'm just wondering, he's kind of hinted at leaving before. I have to say, all right, maybe he's got the experience, but the only experience he's got with us in the Premier League is in a relegation season. So let's not build this guy up to be something he's not. He's shy when he plays for. I mean, Belgium in the last lot of internationals, the Belgian, he's Belgian, isn't he? The Belgian press gave him a 0.
Yeah, he was hideous. He was terrible by all accounts, wasn't he? He's a massive downgrade from Blooming Vertonghen and Alderweireld. I know that much. When you look at the centre back pairings.
This is it, and I suppose we've got a Coley who I don't think is particularly any worse, and he's probably younger and somebody that we can. Although I have seen one or two links from places that I don't particularly think are reliable, saying that he could be leaving. But
yeah,
I think this is the more likely one of the two, isn't it?
I mean, I wonder how long he's wanted to go, not being funny. He strikes me as maybe he wanted to go when we got relegated. And actually he stuck with it and all the rest of it. And he's had a lot of stick from fans. And then but it makes me view this goal he scored in the game in a different light now, because it kind of makes me view it as I'll go do this and then I'm going to basically wave my fingers up and make it very apparent I'm off. because I
Well,
think I've been
it
harshly
was that
treated.
sort of a celebration, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It makes me feel like he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder against the fan base as well. So, I would look at it this way: if that's the long and short of it, and he doesn't like us, and we don't particularly like him,
Yeah.
then agent, let's get him. Let's get this going. Let's get 10 million quid in the door this January, and let's reinvest it, because there's no point in holding on to him if he doesn't want to be here.
No, no. And if that's his attitude, the fact that he's had a few boos and he's, oh, that's it, I'm off, then in fairness,
We don't
yeah,
want him.
goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that sort of player in our club.
No, no. And I think as well, he seems to, again, I do seem to think he believes his own publicity. The fact that he was in this, well, it wasn't in the golden generation Belgian team, was it? They were coming to the end when he kind of broke through.
He was like the fifth choice then, or sixth choice when they were still there. And eventually what happened was age took the rest of them out, and he ended up at number one, I think, by default.
Yes, yeah. So,
Honestly, not to be mean to him, but it's the default setting, It'd be like us having to put Ledley King at centre-back for England when he couldn't train for Tottenham. He's a very good defender, but he couldn't really put the work rate in.
no. It's going to be interesting because I was saying, and we'll come onto this when we're talking about the match, but I was very much saying during the watch along, the actual words I used were "get out of my club" phase.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I said the same, Chris, didn't I? Pretty much at half time. I didn't disagree with you. And then we were all up in like, I can't believe he's gone and done this. You must be watching it. I still said to you, I messaged you that night. I said, Rude must have literally played that half-time talk for me and you to the players at half-time, because everyone we spoke about went out and had an absolute session that second half.
That is true. That is true. Like I said, my nephews did ask me a few weeks ago, did the players watch this? Maybe they do. Maybe it's on that. Maybe we are his halftime team talk. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. And if it works, mate, honestly. But like they've seen with us, I'm sure we'll call them out. But we gave them the credit in the post-match, as we always will when it's needed.
Indeed. As I'd had, we did for Justin, and I did for Ndidi, because he was a different player when Rude came in. It was interesting. I don't know if you have TikTok or not. I love TikTok because I've got the attention span of a goldfish, and so those short clips are absolutely perfect for me. But they were they were doing one of these pop football podcasts. We were interviewing Ben Chilwell.
Okay, no, I've not seen this. No.
Yeah, and basically the clip that they showed, and this is why I like it, because I would not want to sit through an hour's interview with Ben Chilwell. But the little point we were talking about the goal against Leicester in the final, in the cup final.
Yes,
and he was saying that how it meant a lot to him. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, but why shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like as kids. I can remember playing crazy golf with my son and making sure that he didn't beat me by any stretch of the fair or foul, and he wanting to beat me. And it's probably just the same with the next player. There's something there that, look, they're not going to not score, are they?
Well, no, exactly. And also it's about your personal growth, isn't it, as well? So, I think it means a lot, but of course they're coming from a different place than we are, Chris. That's the difference, isn't it? Because we're not footballers. I mean, if I was a footballer, I'd understand it. I'd understand that deep down I was a Leicester fan, but if I was playing against them, I'd have to try and save as many shots as I could against them. I couldn't let them win. That's not the way life works, is it? So I'm not too surprised by that. No.
Right now, do you want to sort of no longer be happy?
Oh, my word. We've hit 2025, Chris. We're only just starting. So what are you bringing out here? We've still got presidents moving and all sorts yet.
Well,
oh, God, yeah. The Grim Reaper.
Yes. Premier League will issue disciplinary charges tomorrow. And this is from Sky. Premier League will issue disciplinary charges tomorrow against any clubs who have broken their financial rules for the 2021-24 reporting period. Clubs who had recorded losses for the first two seasons of the latest three-season cycle were required to submit their accounts for the year ending June 2024 to the Premier League by the 31st of December. PSR rules mean clubs are not allowed to lose more than 105 million over a 3-year season rolling periods. This is reduced by 22 million for every season a club spends outside the Premier League during this period. So obviously that takes 22 million off for us. And the latest rolling period covers 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24. Now, I can remember when we were talking PSR at the start of the season and would we, wouldn't we, what's going to happen. And I actually said, because this is what I was told by Kieran Maguire, who is a very, obviously, it's what he taught. His podcast is about football finance.
He's very educated on the subject, isn't he? He's the man to ask about it. Yeah.
Totally. And he was saying, look, yes, things have been avoided now. It could still come back this season because this was the time when Forest and Everton got done.
Yes, that is correct, isn't it? Yeah, because we were still worrying, but then you look at the end zone, the KDH thing, and hoping that might have been the thing afterwards to fix this, hopefully, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we used the get out card of
moving the date.
We weren't in either league for a period. Where were we?
We moved the date very cleverly so that basically we couldn't get charged by one of them while being in the other, and it's their fault for not looking at it.
No, exactly. So maybe the Enzo and KDH money
comes into the shit.
Yeah, is for this period. I mean, I've read a very interesting thing on it was just on the Chelsea site, and a bit like Leicester Till I Die, but it was saying like what it was talking about conspiracy theories, and it said like we agreed for Enzo to go to Chelsea only if they took KDH, so he got the 40 million between the two deals.
Yeah, which could be true, but then we took Golding off them for a similar principle, Chris.
Well, no, we did. So maybe it was a good deal for sort of all clubs, if you like, but they have said that they want to try and sort everything out in the season where they are looking at it. So that is obviously this season. And they want to do it early because they want to give clubs the chance to appeal.
Okay.
And then it will affect this season. That said, with the Manchester City one, they're saying that nothing will happen until next season because of the appeal system and what have you. Be interesting to see where this is going to go.
It's like the world, isn't it? It's like we're throwing a book at someone who's been done for nicking a block of cheddar from Tesco's, but the bankers who steal X amount of millions, we haven't got time to look at that one. Not to use that specific advantage, but it's like that, isn't it?
And can I just say, I like my cheese, so, just be careful what you're saying.
I wouldn't worry, mate. Tesco's, they put it in blooming plastic crates nowadays, so you can't get away with it.
That's true, actually. That is true. What question I wanted to ask you here, because we will know more tomorrow, so we'll discuss this more on tomorrow night's. Well, it was supposed to be a preview show before the game for Crystal Palace, but it's going to be the... and we're going to talk about this as well, because we should know then. Right, let's say we may only be 10, 12 million off it.
Yeah.
So we're quite close. So we might only get a 2 or 3 point deduction.
Yep.
We know that the Premier League are gunning for us. Look, we slapped them in the face last time, so they're not going to be very happy with us. No. They're going to want to come for us.
We could be a pound over and they'll come for us, yeah.
Exactly. So if it is 2 or 3 points, do we take that? Do we accept that? Take that on the chin and say, "Look, guys, we're going to take that. Let's just get on with things now, and we're all good friends again." Or do we risk the appeal? Because of course, if the appeal goes against us, and I'm sure with having Nick DeMarco on board, which is somebody that I don't think Everton or Forest had. Do we still go? No, we're not having any of this still.
I think that's a very interesting question because it comes down to a point that I'm thinking, which is do as I act and not as I do, which is what the Premier League does a bit sometimes. So I kind of feel if we want to end a war with the Premier League, which we have no doubt been having behind the scenes, we might want to eat it and like the taste of it. However, I'm not a person like that, and unfortunately, this has got me in trouble in life and can get a lot of people like me in trouble. Bit too much principle for that. I would suggest if they come after us, we go after them twice as bad again and defend ourselves vigorously, because I can't believe we'd be that far off it this time, Chris. Not
Well,
with a
no,
year
that's why I'm
experience. Yeah,
thinking.
I would
That's why I'm
appeal it
thinking
in
it
that
might
case.
only be 2 or 3 points. Where
Yeah.
obviously, if it's something like 6 points, it takes us down into the Southampton region, doesn't it? And makes that gap. And if we appeal, let's say 2, 3 points now, 4 points now, but we appeal and we lose that appeal, and we get docked 6 or 7 points, which would then be in a month or two's time with less games to try and get it back. Who'd run a football club, eh? Oh dear, Tom's frozen on me. Never mind. You're frozen, Tom. You're frozen. So I'm really not sure what the club do on this case. It is who would run that football club? Really? And I think he's come back in.
I'm
Is he
back.
there?
I
You're
am.
back.
I was going to say the Premier League are after me now, mate. They want me to shut up.
I think so. So, like I say, if we appeal and we still lose it, we might be nearer Southampton and be less time to try and get out of it.
I mean, I can't remember how this appeal process as it worked. Is this the first time they're doing it this year? Because the interesting thing I would say, it doesn't appeal. Wouldn't that mean you really can't be charged with any points deduction until afterwards? They can't really give it to you, and then you appeal it coming off. I don't really understand how that would work as a system.
The appeal is
something that can take it off afterwards.
The Premier League have said we want to sort this out in the same season that we do it, so that clubs can't. If a club is defaulted within this season, they lose the points within this season. That's why the finances had to be in by the end of December.
Yeah.
If we appeal, then it's still going to try and be sorted out this season, I would imagine, and it just means that instead of sort of being 2 or 3 points down in January, we're 4 or 5 points down in March, and less games to catch up on.
It really interferes with the game, doesn't it? Really interferes.
This is it. This is what we're saying. The title and relegations aren't decided these days on 90 minutes on a pitch on a Saturday or Monday afternoon or whenever they're played these days.
Yeah.
But they're by men in suits around the board table. That said, the idea behind this is that we're not supposed to get these things where owners do come in and bankrupt clubs. And we have seen that happen.
We have, but it's bizarre how they make the process of choice for this, Chris. I'm sorry, I'll firmly go on record on this, or my name be it. I don't think PSR is actually there for that reason. I believe PSR is there to keep the big six happy, to stop them trying to form a Super League. Because it's a system which is designed to keep the rich clubs rich. It's not allowing any sort of level of equal competition, and it's not designed to do that. It's just stopping clubs overspending, like you say, because that is an angle you can go, well, if this club goes and spends £100 million and then they go broke, we'll look like we've let the supporters down and all the rest of it. But they're hiding behind that because Manchester United are £1 billion in the red, and that's good financial management by all accounts. So it doesn't make any sense.
We will find out tomorrow, won't we?
We will. Man United could get a points deduction, I heard, which would be amazing because I'll never see that happening.
No. Look, good news. Koulibaly has signed. Now, it's not been announced by the club at all. It's not on Sky at the moment, but it is on Fabrizio Romano's page. So, look, some good news. Fabrizio Romano did this mid-afternoon. Leicester City have signed Woyo Koulibaly as new fullback from Parma. Documents completed. Now, he did say transfer fee around £3 million. He may have missed a one off that. I thought it was around the 12, 13, to be honest with you. But he's put 13. I just copied and pasted it. Right back, predominantly. But interestingly, and I haven't seen this on any information about him, but he can also play on the left. So
He can, because it's funny, because you guys were saying the other day you can only play on the right, and I play a bit of Football Manager, and I tried to work out which Koulibaly it was, and I went, no, hang on, he's left and right back. He can play both, yeah.
According to Transfer Market, he's only right. But look, different sites, different things. So,
Well, a lot of systems now use an inverted left back, don't they? Which technically means he's playing like a right back in some ways with the foot. So maybe that's what they mean. Yeah.
who knows? Look, at the end of the day, he can play. I'm not bothered about the left back role, because if he comes in, you've got Justin who can go back to being on the left. Christensen is okay from time to time. But look, just great news. And if it is only 3 million, wow, that's a deal and a half, isn't it?
That's it. I'm surprised they've announced it today, Chris, just with this PSR thing, because if we fail now tomorrow by like £1 million, are people going to get a bit shirty about this?
No,
this is
maybe this is why the club haven't announced it. And I did read there's a guy from the Daily Mail that said nothing's going to be announced until after because it's going to piss people off. But Fabrizio obviously isn't too bothered about that, so he's put it out there.
Of course. Well, of course, the Premier League's like that. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. Interesting news as well. Sammy Braybook recalled. For those of you that are Arnold Schwarzenegger film fans, Total Recall. He's only played 5 times, I think it is, for Dundee, where he was on loan. He has played 8 times after joining Dundee in August. He's an England under-21 midfielder. Interesting to see whether the club think, look, you're not playing him enough. We've sent him to get something. We're going to bring him back and send him out, because it's not an area that we are particularly worried about the midfield, is it?
No, not really. I imagine they sent him there hoping he'd be like the KDH experiment at Luton, where he ended up playing all season, ended up player of the year in the Championship. And looking at the Scottish Premier League, you look at someone like Braybook, who's playing for the under-21s, and go, he could go down up there and he could cement, a place in the starting 11 with a team like Dundee and go and do something in that vein. But it's obviously not happening for whatever reason. It is very cold up there, I guess. I don't know, but bring him back a bit closer to Leicester, maybe a loan to somewhere like a Notts County.
The thing is, if they bring him back, we just won't see him because we have fog down in Leicester, don't we?
Well, this is true. When I was watching the highlights back earlier, mate, just to get refreshed for today, I was like, my God, I can't even see the second goal. What is going on? It was crazy, wasn't it? But no, I'm glad he's been brought back and he's being wasted up there. I mean, we've got to get him in the right place, haven't we? There's plenty of local
He was
clubs.
The one that was being touted along with Alves.
Yes, he was.
It was Alves and Braybook. They were the two. Alves didn't go out, but then we didn't play him, so we
got a good relationship with some other Midland clubs, haven't we? I wonder if it'll be something weird, like he'll come back and go to Burton Albion, who probably need a midfielder right now for their battle.
Possibly.
We've done a lot of deals with Burton before, like Sam Hughes and people back in the day.
Right, just very quickly before we go on, and we'll look at the Leicester match. I want to say a big shout out to Alan Birchnell.
Yeah.
He was taken ill at the weekend. LCFC ambassador Alan Birchnell will miss the club's home matches this week. 2 home matches, of course. Birch was admitted to hospital on Sunday, but he would like to let well-wishers know that he's doing well and hopes to be back at in circulation soon. Everyone at LCFC sends their love and best wishes to Birch during his recovery. And I double down on that from LTID, from all of us here, Alan. Get better soon. I remember when I had a heart attack, and I know he does it for a lot of people, but he doesn't have to. But he rang me to sort of see how I was. Where he got the number from, I don't know. But he rang me, see how I was, and say, give me some advice, because obviously he'd had one himself. So, Birch, we're there for you, mate.
Yeah, top man. Yeah.
Wayne goes, he must have been freezing his tits off, sat on the bench week after week. Miserable time for him. Well, look, it is miserable, but that's Scotland, isn't it? You know what I mean?
And ironically, both Dundee clubs are in a good spell at the moment, and it's still pretty bad.
Exactly. Right, okay. It was the FA Cup on the weekend, mate.
It was.
What a game. Leicester City 6, QPR. For those fans of Susan Boyle and Britain's Got Talent, you weren't expecting that, were you? No, you weren't. Courtesy of Ant. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. First of all, I just want to talk about the team because where did that come from? I mean, we
Yeah.
were expecting a mix. I mean, Craig came up with his team in the preview, which included 3 or 4 youngsters. He went big or went home, didn't he, old Rude, or this one?
Yeah, Rude felt like the game like the same way I did, didn't he, really, Chris? He sort of viewed it as an opportunity to keep the first team out there playing and to, try and get some positive attacking play going. Because I said in the pre-match for the game with you, I said, we've got to really use this as an opportunity to really get some attacking movement into the side now. We've played some big Premier League teams the last few weeks where we've had to defend more than we'd want to, and we've not got the results that we're looking for particularly either. And we need to get over that anxiety and start finding ways to progress the ball up the pitch. So I was happy to see what he did. And obviously I'm even happier we managed to score 3 goals in one half and 3 goals in the second half for 6 goals in total. But obviously the question is now, how do we translate that to the Premier League, which is what we need to be seeing from this point onwards.
The point that Craig made was, and obviously we've talked about this on the watch along. Although the last 3 games we'd played, which was Liverpool, Man City, and Aston Villa, so you're looking champions in waiting, current champions, and a Champions League team. We didn't get any points from that. And if we were all honest, we wouldn't have expected any points from that at the start of the season anyway. So, but it was the performances, I think, that we all sort of hung our hats on and said, look, we can see improvements. And I suppose to kind of break that up, it would have. I can see why Rude's done this, because he's gone for that. Well, look, go guys, that's what you did. This is what you can do. And look, I know people say, well, it's only QPR. It's only a championship team. But QPR...
They hadn't lost in 11 games.
No. They're 6th in the form table on the last 6 games in the division. They'd only lost 1 of those. They'd won the last 2. I looked at this and said QPR would be the equivalent to me of a Everton, a Palace, Ipswich, Southampton.
Yeah.
And I stick by that. And those are the sort of teams that we need to be beating if we're going to survive, not the Liverpools, Man Cities, and what have you. So I think looking at this, I think there's a lot of reason. Yeah, look, we don't want to, jump overboard. One swallow doesn't make a summer, and all the other clubs around the bottom of the table also won as well. But it was the performance, what we could see of it anyway.
Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? Because it was what we needed it to be in the moment, Chris, which is what we needed to see an attacking performance from this team, because you can forget how good are you almost when you're spending weeks playing these really top teams and you're defending and trying to get used to a new system. We're working out this player's going here, this player's not going to play, etc. You need to be able to pull a performance out like this. And the fact we could still score 6 against a championship team that's in good form means we're probably not as far off the ball as we were worried, because we were worried that we might be so far off the ball by now. There was a bit of anxiety creeping in after Aston Villa about how things are going, and like I say, a lot of that's because other teams have been getting points off bigger clubs than we have recently. But I think that's the main thing. It's a step forward towards the attacking game we need to find, because Rude's game and Rude's tactics are going to live or die on this. He's going to play this system, and this system is fine. We've got players that can do it to a degree, but they've got to be able to create more chances than they have been in the Premier League. Otherwise, it's completely toothless.
Totally. And, I mean, it was... I've got to say, first of all, the main point is bloody hell, Premier League, Leicester City, whoever it is, we must have had some yellow balls somewhere in the club. What the hell were you doing? For the fans, again, it's all this sort of, well, we don't give a shit about the fans. At one end, they couldn't hear, they didn't know the fact that James Justin had scored.
No, it's bonkers.
I sat in the cop saying, well, we didn't see the first 2 goals.
Well, it's funny because the FA Cup's kind of got this this veil over it this year of being a 3rd or 4th rate competition, because obviously they've done away with the replays as well, which has caused a bit of news regarding Tamworth and what extra money they might have made from having a replay.
Yeah.
But there was an attitude of that, wasn't there? Because there's other games which had less fog and they've been called off. But there seemed to be an attitude, I think, of let's just get this game done because no one really cares, which is a little bit sad, really, in some ways, isn't it?
But true, and don't get me wrong, I'm glad it went ahead because look at the results.
Yeah, it's fine for us, yeah.
I'd said before, look, had QPR knocked us out, I wouldn't have been crying in my soup because
No.
it bigger fish to fry this season. Justin, well, no, before we get on to the individual goals and what have you, I want to give a shout out to Rude because every manager takes some shit off the fans, doesn't it? Really, really do they do. And to me, he got this absolutely right. And like I say, anybody who comes to me and goes, yeah, but it was only QPR. Yeah, but it was only Wycombe Wanderers. Yes, but it was only Newport County. Yeah, we've got lots and lots of those in our history. He took the risk, and whichever way he'd gone, if we'd lost this, like we did against Forest that time, we'd have been he'd have been hounded. If you put the youth out and we'd lost, people would be saying, well, why didn't you try, the youth, with a full team strength? Put the full team strength out. If we'd lost it, they'd have been saying, oh, you should have tried the youth and all this. So it was a lose-lose situation for him. He went big. It worked for him. Yes, there was times when in that first half it wasn't the best, but it wasn't exactly brilliant conditions, was it? Let's be honest with you. You could, you couldn't hit long balls across the field and hope to find one of your own players.
And also, you've got to expect QPR to turn up and also give their best early doors for a cup competition. Which it doesn't matter if you're Man United or Leicester City or Arsenal or Real Madrid. Every underdog team's going to do that, Chris, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're going to have to weather that. You have to weather it.
Exactly. But when we came out in the second half, when, let's be honest with you, we were always a little bit dodgy at the start of the second half. What have you. They scored 47 minutes, so they were probably coming out feeling a little bit more up for it. And in the second half, we totally bossed it. And he then made the substitutions at the right time, knowing we've got another game. We've got 2 games coming up this week. For me, and I know we don't include Rude, but this was something I think that Wayne said in the post-match, or Jim, I can't remember, what it might have been Wayne saying, I would give the man of the match to Rude. Yet, I have got to say, Rude, 11 out of 10 for that performance.
I'd agree. I think he had good game management plans in there, like you say as well. He probably told the players a new one at halftime, Chris, because they were winning 3-2, but they just given up the most daftest of goals, hadn't they, to make it 3-2 and put all the pressure back on us. And I think he probably read them the right act to say, guys, a lot of you are playing on Wednesday. Do you want to be playing for 90 minutes and 90 minutes, or do you want to go and get a couple more goals early at the start of the second half, and then we can get you a bit of rest ready to go again for Wednesday? I'd have laid it like that to them. I would have gone, we know this Leicester team does well when it's offered days off. It won a Premier League based on that once. So I'd be more than happy to give them a day off as long as they, wanted to get it done. So, but no, I think the main point of what you're saying there is good. His management, and I think his man management has looked very good so far. And if you compare that to what Cooper was like, that was one of the biggest noises we were hearing out of the club that wasn't so good, was his potential man management and this. He wasn't particularly getting on with everyone. So I think Top's made a good appointment on that basis alone from just seeing where we were. And I really hope he's successful. I really hope he can build from this. Yeah.
Let's first of all very quickly look at their 2 goals. Varane after 18 and Coley, I say, on 47. Looking back, and look, I'm going to hold my hand up here because I tore Faye's off a big one for the second goal. And looking back on it, it was probably as much, if not slightly more, Wink's fault. That said, I do believe that Faye should have been more open to the fact that there was a player behind him. So, should have been moving. So he doesn't absolve himself totally, but both those goals came from bad Winks passes.
Yeah,
I'm hearing more of that every week.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he manages to get this out of his game a bit. He ends up being the deepest one of the midfielders, Winks, doesn't he? And this is at the time with QPR, the Varane goal in particular, the 18th minute one. We were hemmed in at the back and we were still trying to play out. And for some reason, like when we're trying to play out from the back and we're under pressure, we're not having an outlet somewhere else, which is really confusing to me because he passed it backwards into where a load of QPR players who are pressing the ball were going to be. And, other clubs I watched this weekend were just pip it over to a winger who's completely free because half the defenders are up the pitch, and all of a sudden they're in trouble. So his decision making was a bit concerning at points. But I think this goes down to, again, Chris, is getting used to playing with each other. He's not played every game. He's been in and out a bit bitty, but he needs to get better, because that's one of the worst performances I think he's had in a Leicester shirt so far, actually.
It is, but is that because of... And my worry is that we judge all these players. Well, he's better than that in the Championship. And are we suffering from our own success last season and judging it wrongly? Because obviously it is a completely different ball game, isn't it?
Well, it is, exactly. Yeah, I mean, in the Championship, he's going to be a top player, isn't he? But in the Premier League, is he going to get a bit more exposed? Football's a funny thing, isn't it? Because when you look at a club like Tottenham and go, if they're selling a young British player like this, a young English player, for that amount of money, they must think he's not up to it. Because you don't normally get them for this price or for that sort of, and the same goes to Skip a little bit. I'm not putting them together and saying they're both awful, because I don't believe they are, but I do believe that they're not the perfect two, and I think Winks is a bit like Fies in the regard of when he's thinking too defensively, which is ironic because he's a defensive midfielder. But when he's thinking too defensively, he gets in a right mess. As soon as he starts looking forward, he's much better. And I think it's that confidence thing again, Chris. So hopefully Rude will get with him this week, go back through the video and go, you need to stop doing this and just turn and face this way. And, because once again, that's part of the progress of the foundation, isn't it? Because otherwise we might need another central midfielder,
Yes. No, you're quite right. Right, Justin. I jokingly, we both said, in fact, I think it was maybe, play him in a different position further up the field, which Ricardo could have done as well when he was doing well.
Well, Ricardo started as a right winger at Porto, didn't he?
I remember you saying, indeed.
Yeah, he's a right winger.
Look, fair play to him. He took both goals very well.
He did take both goals very well, yeah. And he was defensively better, but he was still a little bit... He still wasn't perfect. It's funny, I gave him man of the match at the time, and in hindsight, I would have changed it, actually, in hindsight now, having watched the game back. But I was giving him that extra point, really, because I'd given him a bit of stick on the Monday. And I thought, well, he's scored a couple of goals and he's looked a bit better today. But... yeah, I mean, he was better. But how much of this, Chris, goes down to the whole back four and the goalkeeper as well? Because, of course, they've not really been a stable unit all season. Hermansen's been in there for a long spell of it, and then he's got injured, and now, Brad Ward in and Stolaric. And then you think defensive partnerships, we start with Fies and the Cody, and we're currently at Vestergaard and Cody. So it's quite a departure for everyone playing alongside each other. So, and we were talking about this in other reviews. I think the nice thing is about Rude is we're seeing the players he's going to at least stick with for now, so that's why Justin's been playing so much, and it's good to see him get a more confidence building performance today, because in this game, because if he hadn't had a confidence building performance, I would have feared the worst. I would have said we should have arrested him, and we should have chucked Hamza in and done whatever. But yeah, hopefully it's a step forward, mate. But it is very funny, because I'm sure we all feel it. This Crystal Palace game is so big coming up on Wednesday, that it's all really dependent on how that goes, how this is going to feel long term as well.
Yes, indeed. Mavididi obviously got the second goal. Look, Buenete, what a move.
Started the move and finished it as well.
Exactly. But both of those goals, especially more for the Mavididi one, El Canous was involved. Yes. El Canous, Buenete, they've got to be starting together. They seem to play so well together, and everybody sometimes says because they're both similar players. If one of them is out, the other one would immediately, you would say, would go into that position if only one was being picked. And a lot of people say we can't play two creative players. It's bollocks. Yes, you can, because whenever I see them together, they link up well together.
Yeah, they do link up very well together. Yeah, I think El Canoes reminds me a bit of Mahrez. In some ways, we don't want to overtrain him because he's got a very good natural street football style. And the more space he gets to run into, the better he is. And that's what we need to get him into doing. The times he's been ineffective and struggled are the times where he's not had that space. And he played in the centre pretty much, didn't he, the whole game, which I thought was which I've been saying since Rude came in, because we used to do Benotte there, and I always thought we'd better put El Canoes there rather than on the left. And it was interesting to see what he could do with the free rein in that position. And it was a very encouraging performance. It was very encouraging because the way he linked up in his vision, especially in the fog, I felt was top class. So hopefully we'll see more of it going forward, Chris, because I thought that was a nice performance from El Canoes.
Yes.
In hindsight, he would have been my man of the match, I think.
And Vardy, it was his birthday. He was going to get a goal. It was a penalty. And I've criticised him in recent matches. I did the show, have we seen the best of him? Look, it wasn't a Vardy performance from 2 or 3 seasons ago, but when he stood up to take that penalty, you were always thinking like, yeah, Arsenal could have maybe done with him yesterday. But, fair play to the guy, 38 and getting a birthday goal.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, Chris, in some ways, he was probably one of the lower rated players on the pitch on the day, I felt. But in some ways, that's kind of not a disaster, because I was just saying, it's back to your point about, is he, maybe getting past it now? We kind of need to, at the point where he's 38 years old, to have other players pushing him, other players that are going to be better than Jamie Vardy. He shouldn't be the best player by default because no one else is good enough. So I think it was a nice game from that perspective, where we're not talking about Jamie Vardy for once. We're talking about Benotte. We're talking about Justin. Talking about Fies a bit. We're talking about El Canoes, which is what we need to be seeing from Leicester, because these El Canoes in particular is going to be one of the main options going forward, no doubt.
Yes, indeed. Look, we've mentioned Faze before, but look, credit where it's due. The crowd was shouting shoot. I mean, fair play to him. First of all, he literally did, and look, I criticised him for the second goal. For that goal, he nipped in because the QPR player was just waiting for the ball, and he saw the advantage, and he nipped in and took it. And just let one go. And look, they go in or they go up, they go into row double Z. Fair play to him for getting that.
Do you remember Robert Hoof doing the free kick that time?
Oh, God, yeah.
And the season we won the Premier League, and we were taking the mickey, weren't we?
And I also remember Jeff Schlupp as well. His row double Z was his favourite target point as well.
It was so funny because when I was watching the Man United game, I know we're getting to it next, I was thinking about Jeff Schlupp when looking at Xerxes. It was like the chaos of the man, but like similar to Xerxes, the chaos when it works, and it's impossible to play against. There's something really backwardly strange about that. But Fies had a really good game in this game, to be fair to him. But I do think now, in hindsight, with the news that came out, like we mentioned at the start, we can see probably why a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. Good afternoon, good evening, Prasant, and good evening, LCFC as well. Right, we are going to go, before we go on to the Man United game, we're going to do this. We're going to give the player ratings, because Brad wasn't with us at the weekend. 1 to 10, and what we do is we'll read out what Jordan Blackwell from the I said the Times then, from the Mercury has given them, and we'll compare it
to his,
to ours. So Jakub Salarczyk, he perhaps got fingers on the chair strike that hit the woodwork, and again he did well at punching clear at corners, but the wait for a first clean sheet goes on. He almost gave up a goal himself with a poor kick out. He got 5 from Jordan. I thought that was a bit harsh.
Yeah, I think that was slightly harsh, because he couldn't see for a lot of the game, don't forget, either. I mean, it's the worst game to play as a goalkeeper, that one, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I'd go for 6. I would go for. I went with a 6, Chris. I gave him a 6 because of the weather conditions, which is, that's a fair out today. It's not one you can normally give in football, but the weather conditions weren't ideal for a goalkeeper. So 6.
Well, like you say, you could, from one end of the pitch, you couldn't see the other.
Yeah, exactly.
James Justin. Look, my man of the match, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to give him an 8. He got a 7 off Jordan, an improved performance, and you wanted from him.
Yeah, I went for an 8 as well, Chris, and my man of the match, which I will stick to. I'm not going to change my mind on this, but I think the thing is about Justin as well is he's been noticed a lot for making defensive mistakes, but he did contribute to goal scoring again today, which is him at his best, like he did against Arsenal. I remember he got 2 against Arsenal. He's a second top goal scorer, isn't he?
He is.
I mean,
with 4 goals, yeah.
I mean, for the and this is the thing. I mean,
Same on with Hardy.
yeah, which is crazy when you think about it, isn't it? But yeah, so I
Yeah.
think an 8's fair enough because he got forward as well and he was better defensively as well. But
Yes.
he's got to get the balance right of the two, definitely.
Yeah. Connor Cody, who is next up, he got a 5 from Jordan. He looked rusty in the early stages, playing wayward passes and failing to read the game as well as he usually does. But he improved and put a solid driving block late on. Yeah, 5 from Jordan. Yourself?
I went with 5 as well. I thought he was the weakest of the defense, really, the whole game.
I went 6. I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could see why. I just felt like he didn't have his best game, and sometimes he gets a bit shouty, and actually I think Fires ignores him, or whoever ignores him because he's not doing it himself. He didn't have a good game for him, but it was fine. 5.
But I also was thinking as well, every time Cody looks round, look for Vestergaard, he's not there. I know Vestergaard was injured. It wasn't a decision that that Ruud made tactically, but when you're used to playing with somebody, as he has been for a few games, he's been with Vestergaard, it's been those two, and suddenly Faze, who maybe likes to move forward a little bit more, I don't know, but I just think I had to allow that in my thing. But like you say, one person's 5 is another person's 6. One person's 9 is another person's 10. So
yeah, exactly, that's it.
I know we want farewell Faze. What do we give him on possibly his last match? And
God,
he got an 8. He got an 8 off Jordan.
I know, which I find remarkable because we still conceded 2 goals in the game, so I'm not going to go that mad. I gave him a 7, but I must be honest, after reading that article, I wanted to give him the finger, but that's something different. I was just after all we said, mate, it's like, you go full Messi to pretty much put one up your own fans by all accounts.
Yeah. You've gone 7, I've gone 6 on that. I've matched my Cody thing with that because I think he could have done better for that second goal. Not all his fault, but he still worries me, to be honest with you. I think he is the weakest link in the back line. 7 from Ben, 8 from LCFC. Then we look at Victor Christensen. Now he got a 6 from Jordan. There was no overt mistakes in the left back, but nothing much positive of note. Yeah, he was a bit kind of wasn't he really?
Same as Connor Cody, ironically. I'd go with a 5, Chris. I think 6 is, because the thing is, I don't remember him doing anything, but sometimes when you're Michael Carrick, that's a really good thing. But when you're a left wing back and Justin goes and gets a couple of goals, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good score or not for him in that circumstance because other games he's got further forward. But then other games we've lost as well. So it's a difficult one to call this because I kind of don't mind the fact we didn't notice him. But I'll go with a 5 on that reason alone because I don't really know how to grade it.
Yeah. Well, I've gone 6.
Which is outright, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like you say, sometimes when you don't see a player, if it's a striker and you don't read anything of them, you're thinking like, what the hell they're doing? If it's a midfielder sometimes, you're thinking, well, he was just doing his job. So it was a difficult one.
Exactly.
I have gone 6, and I have to say, if anybody who's interested in my my parcel gate, Every has now been put back between 7 and 9. So it was due to be here at 7:30.
It's going to be a race between Every and the show finishing.
Well, no, we'll get the guy on when he gets here. Doug says didn't know he had that in him with his strike. Good evening, Doug. Indeed not. 4 goals. I was with a Liverpool fan yesterday. 4 goals. Obviously, scoring 6 isn't for everybody, Doug, is it? But what can I say? Ben Christensen 5, 5.5. If we do that, don't do halves. We do stars if you want to give 5-star, but we don't do halves.
No, we're pints men. We're pints men.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Same thoughts, Doug. Yeah, quite literally. Yeah. Right then. Winks.
Oh,
Got a 4 off Jordan. I'll go first with this one. I'm sorry. I
mm,
think what you said, this was his worst game.
yeah.
I can't get. I'm just going with a 3. I'm sorry, because he did have a hand in both goals, and whilst we expect Faze to maybe have done better with that second goal, you could argue that he shouldn't have been put in that position in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was very, and I love Winks, I love him, but
Mm.
I can't go any higher than a 3 for that game.
I'll go with the 4. I was debating a 3, 4, and a 5 for different reasons. I'll go with a 4, just because it's going to be slightly off difference. I'd tell you something about Winks generally, which I find a bit annoying, Chris, is that in the last few Premier League games, there's been a few comments from fans, rightly so, going, "Well, we've got no midfield, especially in the central midfield. There's nothing there, and we're not able to get up the pitch." And I just think with a player like Winks, that's not going to change because that's not the sort of player he is. And that's my concern with it as well. So I'm going to lean on a bit and give him a 4 because I'm not sure how much of it is actually down to him or what he's being told to do. But if
Yes.
this was otherwise, it would be a 3 or a 2. It really would, because it was a bad performance. But we've got to work out what we're doing there.
Doug said, was it a 6-2 score line? I think it really was, wasn't it?
It's bizarre, isn't it, Chris? Because it kind of felt, yeah, I would say, was it 6-2? Ah, it probably deserved to be 4-0.
It
So
was our
yeah,
best.
it is.
It was our best, for me, the best performance of the season.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
I agree
including
with that.
Walsall and all Tranmere and those clubs in from the Caribou Cup as well.
It was definitely better than Walsall, mate. My word.
Well, exactly. So I'm not going high just because it's a lower league team.
No.
Well, not lower league. We said that before. They're up there. They're on a par with Everton, Palace, and the others down there.
Yeah.
Sumare. Whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa.
Redemption arc.
Yes, he gets a 6 from Jordan, and I probably agree with that. Again, for me, the problem I've got here when I'm judging these is anybody that was watching the watch along with me, at one point I said, the ball is on the far side of the pitch. I don't know who's got it. It could be a Leicester player, could be a QPR player. Bear with me until it's played over to this side and I can give you a better commentary.
It was like that.
And I actually said at one point, the way this matches with the fog, I could get Samari and Vardy mixed up because I just couldn't see a thing. So saying that I didn't see somebody in the match is probably being unfair to them, but I didn't see much of him, and he gets the 6 from me as well.
Yeah, he gets a 6 from me as well. I mean, the things I did see of him, Chris, the one thing he always seems to bring, which I want to lean on, he's got to keep doing, is he does progress the ball forward, which is what we really need in that position. So yeah, 6.
Yeah, not a bad game. Not a game where you look and go, we need to drop him. To me, yeah.
There's a time Samari getting a 6 and meant hella frozen over, so we'll take it.
Yes. Here we go. Look, Brunette. They always say that they don't fall in love with a lone player. Well, I'm sorry, I'm head over heels.
Yeah,
we know we're not going to keep him at the end of the season, and it is a shame. He got an 8 off Jordan. I have to say, I know I gave 8 to Justin, and he was my man of the match. And there's probably a little bit of redemption in that, but I will go 8 for Brunetti as well.
fair enough, mate. I'm going to go with a 7. I thought he was very good. I mean, I could give him the 8 on the goal, to be honest, I guess, as well, because the goal he scored was probably the best. My light has just gone out. My apologies. I'll fix that in a minute. But yes, but no, I'll go for 7. Am I looking better, actually, like that?
Yeah, sorry.
In which case, I'll turn my spotlight off. Not a problem, mate. I look better in the darkness. That's why I've always hidden those alleyways and people start screaming. But but yeah, no, I'll go with 7. Back to the matter at hand. We'll go with 7 for Binotte. It's a throw between a 7 and an 8. It's very close.
Yes. And of course, this man didn't get a goal, but he was involved in so much. I'm going to give him a 7. He got an 8 off Jordan. Look, he was involved with a couple of the goals, wasn't he? And And like we said earlier, these two, him and Buenete, they can play together and they should be playing together.
Yeah, agreed, exactly. He gets an 8 from me today as well. I'd agree with Jordan on that one. But like you say, with Enote, the two of them together, like were an amazing tag team, weren't they? And
Yeah.
yeah, so no, I was very impressed with him. But I wonder if the thing in the back of my head I keep getting is he had a lot of space in this game, and we either need to make that space for him going forward, or I'd be a bit concerned if we can't find it for him in other games, because then he becomes a bit redundant. That's something we've got to make sure we're doing somehow going forward. But a nice big 8 today, great job.
It's interesting that you've gone 7 and 8 for Brunetti and El Canus, and I've gone 8 and 7. So
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think I've got a bias. I think I've got a bias to him being an actual Leicester player, though, Chris. Maybe.
Well, possibly.
Subconsciously.
Well, this is a Leicester player as well. Mavididi got a 7 from Jordan. I thought he had a really good game. I really did. Yeah, all right. He didn't do anything. I like the fact that he didn't do anything spectacular. Because when he tried to do something spectacular, where it was coming off in the Championship, it doesn't always come off in the Premier League. You know, you're up against the different standard of player. So I've agreed. I've gone 7. I've agreed with Jordan.
Yeah, I went with a 6 because I still get a bit annoyed at him, because I think his strength is when he's really pressing people constantly, and there's still times where he doesn't do it enough for me. Because from there, he creates so many chances for us when he's doing it, and other games where he's not really in it, his head's not really in it. In this game, he was very much in it for the most of it, but there's other games he doesn't do it. So I went with a 6 on that notion, but I want to see Chris with Mavididi going forward more 7s and 8s, because I want to see him pressing people more.
Yes, yeah,
100%. Especially without Canute and Binotti up there. Yeah.
Now then, Mr. Vardy.
This will be controversial.
He got a 5 off Jordan, and I feel bad if I mark him too low because it was his birthday. We shouldn't do that. We wouldn't do it for any other player. Well, he got the penalty.
Yeah,
I don't think he did. I noticed for 2 of the goals, if they hadn't been scored, like the Brunetti one, and what a header from Brunetti as well.
Oh yeah, superb
header. Vardy was there lurking. But my question is, should Vardy have been the one that was causing the problems, but like Brunetti was, like Mavididi was? And he was, for me, and I'm sorry, happy birthday, Jamie, but you get a 4 from me. That's for the penalty in your birthday.
I gave him the mark out of the percentage, which his age number was 38%, which is a 4. Pretty much, isn't it? It rounds up to a 4. So, so I agreed with you, mate. Yeah, I did. He had a quiet game, really, didn't he? But I don't know what to make of it, really. I'm starting to get a vibe of he almost knows this is it. And it's almost like it was a bit phoned in. I imagine he probably didn't expect he'd be playing normally either. But
No.
So it was a funny one. I'm not saying he had an attitude or anything like that. I'm not saying it was a bad performance. He just seemed a very mer performance for Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is quite a rare thing. Yeah, quite a rare thing. Yeah,
he was there, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But in some ways, Chris,
get used to now.
Well, that's it. But that's kind of what I'm battling with myself. Because there's also part of me that goes, I actually want the other lads to be louder than Vardy as well, because we need something going forward there, don't we? But yeah, it's weird when we're used to it, aren't we? It's like the Joker in the room being quiet one night. You get worried about him.
Exactly. Yeah. Right, we're on to the substitutes. Skip. I think by the time we made these substitutes,
it was quite late.
Whilst you say this was Leicester, the game wasn't safe. It was pretty much on the way to being, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, look, Skip got a 6. I'm going to just give him a 5. Nothing wrong, nothing brilliant, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would go with a 5 to put him right in between Winks and Simare.
Yeah,
which is where he was.
Yeah, Ayew, again, he got a 6. Again, he came on. He did what we expect of him. 6. I'll probably give him a 6. In fairness, I'll leave it as a 6 because he did what we expect of him. He got involved. He held the ball up, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard with the substitutes, isn't it? Because, unless you come on and score a goal or get a couple of assists, you're not going to get anything more than a six,
No.
really, are you? But I think with Jordan Ayew, it's interesting because we get a lot of mixed comments about him as well. But I will say something about him now for all the negative comments we heard. He'll probably become a more important player for us as the season goes on. Ironically,
Mm.
just because of how the season's going to go, because the games like Ipswich where he made the goal, everything else, we're going to need that going forward, and that's where his experience might come up trumps for us. So nice 6 in that game, but hopefully more going forward as well.
Yeah. Daka.
Yeah.
I didn't really get that involved, but he did set up the last goal, didn't he? No, he didn't. He set up Justin's second goal.
That's right. Yeah, it was the second one. That was right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he played him through. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd go for 5.
You've gone for a 5.
Yeah.
I've gone for a 6 purely because of him setting that goal up. So,
I mean, well, it was the West Ham game he scored that goal, wasn't it? It's just come back to me, Chris. It was the West Ham game he scored that goal. And it's funny because I wish I remembered it because I wanted to say then, yeah, that's what we need from him going forward more. And we didn't see him for a game which was quite free scoring, putting himself in positions to get some goals, which I found interesting.
He come
probably
on
should have
and
done that.
get a goal or something. Yeah.
I'm not sure if he gets a goal bonus, but I'll be thinking if I was a striker, Christ, going for 10 minutes, I'm fresh. I could probably smash 3 past him and get like 30 grand,
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bit bizarre, but there we are.
Yeah. And finally, he wasn't on. Jordan hasn't given him anything because he wasn't really on long enough. And I've got to say, I can't vote. I can't score him either. It would be unfair.
Did we do McAteer? Did McAteer come on?
I haven't got a thing for McAteer.
Have I wrote it down wrong? It might have been.
Sorry, I missed him. Well, we'll come on to McAteer in a second then.
I didn't. For They called over Reed. I didn't even give him a score, mate. I would go with a 5 because he was on for like no time at all, was he?
Yeah.
McAteer.
Sorry, I did miss him. He's put it in a funny order here, and then I got down to Dakova Reed. I thought that was it. McAteer.
5 again.
He got a 5, and yeah, that's all I can go for him. Really, had a decent enough game.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Because none of these subs came on and really lit the world on fire. Not that I'm particularly expecting you to when you're 6 up, but when you've just seen your teammates go and do that, I'm pretty sure I don't know what it is. It just seems like you want to go out there and try and make your own marker on it as well to be part of it. So I was a bit surprised. Yeah. I was a bit surprised with Daka and McAteer in particular because I would have looked at that and gone, well, this is a good chance for me to make sure I'm in contention here because otherwise I don't see how McAteer gets in the team unless Binotte leaves.
Yeah, no. Well, not necessarily one for the future because it's for now, but Scott is in. Scott, how are you doing? A goal bonus, our players not enough on as it is. It is, but even the best salesperson still gets bonuses at a lot of places if they make sales.
I'm pretty sure his base salary is probably a lot higher because he's not seen a worry without it, has he?
Well, what did you give McAteer? Sorry,
I gave him a 5.
You give him a 5 as well. Yeah. Right. Well, look, we're through to the next round, and we are playing the team that did this. And I have to say, thank you, Scott. I was sat between a Liverpool fan and a Man United fan with 2 other Man United fans on the other side of the room. It was a family get-together. My brother-in-law and his 2 are all big Manchester United fans. It was very, very interesting. We won't go into the game itself. Very, very interesting because my possibly future son-in-law, unless my daughter Hannah decides to change her mind, but they've got a house together and they're living together. So I'm presuming at some point that will occur.
Careful, mate. I'm sure your family are going to be watching this. Careful what you say here, mate. You'll be giving her away at some point.
Actually, Ali is a great, great lad. I love him to bits. He's real good fun, but he's an Arsenal fan. But my crowning moment is when I went to London to see them and stay over last year. I got a picture of him under the Tottenham Court Road tube station sign.
Oh, lovely. Just what every Arsenal fan wants in their record album, their photo album.
Exactly. And the funny thing was, listening to Ali speak, the referees don't like us.
Get a lot of that.
Yeah. And I said, you're one of the big six and you're complaining about referees and everybody being against you. F off. Literally, come on. I said, and the more he went on about it, every foul, everything, I'm going, you are sounding like a fan from 14 other clubs. I said,
It's
not one for the
interesting.
top
Yeah.
six.
Well, Chris, I was going to say, interesting to touch on that. There's a lot of things historically going back for Arsenal fans, not just this season, to last season and the season before, where they felt some decisions of the referee and the VAR things regularly were going against them. And this is why this is built up for Arsenal fans. Every Arsenal fan I speak to will say the same thing to you. And I'm like you, I get to the attitude where I go, well, you need to probably stop trying to win 1-0 and actually try and win some football matches so these things don't do you over. But no, they're adamant, mate, that they're getting a raw deal from the officials. They are.
That said, maybe if they hadn't signed Kai Havertz, they might be winning a few more games as well. I mean,
yeah, it's so difficult.
It's like a team signing Daka and expecting he's going to be a 20-goal a season striker. It's not going to happen, is it?
Well, he's a bit of a flavour of the month signing, isn't he? When the time he came in, because he was obviously in a certain place then, and he was fighting above, the team he was playing for. He was a better quality than that. But when you go to a club like Arsenal or any big club, you'll be found out to be what you are. That's why N'Golo Kante went to Chelsea and was still the best in the world. He was that good. You don't win a Premier League unless you're that good. And this is the biggest thing I took away from this game for Arsenal. And the biggest frustration I would have is in the final third, they are so slow. They do not do anything quickly enough anymore. They do not do what Liverpool do and break through lines quickly. And there's so many chances in this game. They could have actually done something earlier and they just held on to the ball too long again. Or when they did do it, they got offside because they were in two minds whether to pass to Martinelli, who was in, but they left it too long. Stuff like that, Chris, is bizarre to me because Arteta's been with them now for a long time, but it's a regular Arsenal problem and I can't quite get my head around it.
Yeah, I watched that game and I was quite enjoying it because on 8 minutes and it was 0-0. I went, we'd had a goal by now.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like this is a boring half, isn't it? And we're like on 18 minutes, I'm going, we had two. And at half time
exactly.
It was 0-0. I said, we actually had 5 goals at this point. I said, you haven't even got any. That first half. It was a boring first half of football. That said, Arsenal reminded me a lot of Leicester in the way, in the fact that it was their half for the taking.
It was.
On a few occasions, it was all Arsenal. It was, but they were just doing nothing with it.
No, exactly, and that's it. And Manchester United now obviously are becoming more disciplined because Amarin's been there now for a little while, and you can see he's got his system, his players, and you can and credit to him because unlike when Van Gaal came in, or like when the last one came in, getting all their Dutch managers wrong now. When Van Gaal was there many years ago, my word, no, Ten Hag, and it's different. It seems different to that time. It just felt like to me this team knew what they were doing. They were very disciplined in doing it. And it felt like Arsenal were huffing and puffing. But in reality, I always felt Man United were going to win, even with at 10 men. Bizarre, isn't it? But they just had that sort of energy about them.
Well, it was funny because we're sat there and us the two neutrals, if you like. My mate Colin and me both wanted Arsenal to win.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, him because it kept them busy in the championship race, if they've still got that game to play, and me because it would deflate Man United a little bit, and it would send them down nearer to us in the league if they were deflated. For me, and I said this, the player I hate more than any other player in not just the Premier League, I think in football, and it was Maradona. You're getting your Dutch managers mixed up. I'm getting me pop stars footballers mixed up. It was Maradona for a while with the Hammer God. It was I can't stand Ronaldo as much as he does for charity. I think the guy,
Yeah.
and the fact that he's getting all these records now means diddly shit because he's doing it in the Conference League over there. The guy that I just want to punch him in the face more than whenever I just see him is Bruno Fernandes. And
Yeah, interesting.
the biggest cheer that of me and my mate during that first half was when he got the yellow card.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
It's interesting though, yeah.
But
Sorry,
I
you
mean,
carry
he's
on, mate.
in, and he's throwing his boot on the floor and showing dissent. I mean, come on, mate. It was like watching a Premier School football player, at half
Yeah,
time. I'm
yeah,
going to take the ball home. I mean,
yeah,
fuck off, Fernandes,
yeah,
But he got the first goal, which opened it up.
yeah. He did, yeah.
Dallas got a red card. Again, there was some dispute. What do you think about the red card? Was that a second yellow?
Yeah, I think it was nowadays. I think fair play to the referee as well, because actually in that environment and that atmosphere, you can bottle it in those moments. And I've accused officials of doing it before, but now you reach straight for his pocket. In the modern game, Chris, you can't do it. It's a
No.
50-50 and you can't go sliding in for a 50-50. They will immediately book you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your feet are even that high. They will do it because that's the way the game is now. So no, it was the right decision. Scott's made a very good point there. In this game, actually, I would argue you're right. The referee was in favour of Arsenal potentially, if you want to view it that way. I think the Arsenal comments we were making previously were general narrative going into many years before this specific game. Just to clear that up with you, mate, because you are bang on there. So yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it, with Fernandes, Chris, as well, going back to him, because he's a sort of player that if he's on your football team and he's doing good things for you, then you're not going to dislike him. You're going to love him. You're going to absolutely love him. There's a hockey player. Robbie Savage, Jamie Vardy. We get it from every fans about Jamie Vardy, but every fan quietly whispers in your ear after, goes, God, I'd love to have a Jamie Vardy on my team.
Yeah.
So, but I know what you mean. It's about how you do it. And I said the same about Martin as a defender last week. I always felt he was a worse version of Fernandes. I felt he was a proper, like Suarez. He will bite you. He will do all these little things. And he seemed very humbled the week before. And I think Fernandes has seemed to be a little bit more humbled now. And I know he's still having these little things, but I think they're getting their heads in a better place to stop being as petulant. And I think under Amorim that won't be as bad going forward. But obviously they've been petulant now for so many years with Pogba and Rashford and all the rest there. It's leaked into their entire squad, which has been a massive problem.
Indeed. They also got, I think, the first penalty, the in-game penalty. Again, the Man United people in the room, it was never a penalty. And I've seen a lot of Alan
it's a penalty.
A lot of other people saying it was a light penalty. Sorry, I don't get this as a light penalty. It's either a penalty or it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want me to describe exactly what I saw, Chris? I saw Harry Maguire weigh up the situation for a moment. No, he shouldn't put his foot out because you can see it written on his face. But like the child that puts their hand in the oven to get the cookies, he's burnt his fingers and got carried away and he tripped the guy up. And as soon as he did it, he went like this. But he knew he'd done it and went, I shouldn't have done that. It's like that tiny voice in the head where you're at the side of the cliff that tells you to jump. I don't know why he let that tiny voice take over, but it was 100% a penalty because you can't do it.
No, I agree totally. And when I was looking at it and watching it, and then obviously we have the advantage of replays. The linesman doesn't. The referee doesn't, and he didn't even have VAR. There's no VAR.
Of course.
Whilst there is still a non-Premier League team in the draw, we will not see VAR. And quite right, you can't have it at some grounds. Not
please let Dagenham or Redbridge make the final or something. Well, Dagenham or Redbridge now.
I wasn't expecting that.
No VAR for the final then.
Penalty in game for Arsenal.
It was Odegaard.
Odegaard was it. Odegaard.
Yeah.
When that went in, that didn't go in. Sorry, when he missed that, and what a game the Manchester United goalkeeper had. Deservedly man of the match.
Yeah.
To my mind, after a performance like that, Onana doesn't get anywhere near the first team squad again.
No, I would agree with you on that one. Yeah, because I think Onana's still got a big error in him. Onana's very good at making the hard things look very easy and the simple things look very hard, which is difficult with him. But Bayern had a great game. You're correct, mate.
The Manchester Danny Ward. But when Odegaard had his penalty saved, I actually said at that point, you know what? United are going to go on and win this now.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
United were coming back into the game. And look, when you got 10 men, and you
Mm.
would think with 10 men that they would tire. They've said with other games, where it's there's no replay, so it goes to extra time, and that's when the big clubs usually win it, as in Tottenham, because they're
Yeah.
the fitter, etc. Arsenal just had not taken advantage of that extra person, or they did, but they didn't do
Mm.
anything with the advantage.
No.
Fancy passing and controlling the game, and I could just see it going. And I don't think that they've got another goal, Arsenal, if they've still been playing now, which says a
No.
lot for Man United and the 10 players that were left on the pitch.
Absolutely. And also, interestingly, Chris, I think it says a lot for where Arsenal's home fans are right now, especially with Mikel Arteta. I'm not saying they want him out or anything like that, because I don't believe they do. But I believe there is a frustration now, which is actually even seeping onto the pitch at the Emirates from all these games, like against Everton, where they've been in a position where they've been battering them and they cannot score, and they draw 0-0. And then they're against a 10-man Man United team who is turning up in the same way, very defensively sound, trying to break on them with some very smart and very positive play. And the same thing happens again, and you hear moans and groans, and the atmosphere, and it changes. And Arsenal are facing that right now, because it's almost like they're in their own way a little bit at times. And I'm not saying they've got no right to be that way, because I'd be as frustrated as them if I supported Arsenal and saw it going the way it was, where you're so close but yet somehow so far simultaneously. But I think they've got to consider that going forward. How do you get past that? And I've seen it mentioned, maybe they do need to change the manager. Maybe it's going to need something freshening up, because he's been there a while now.
They do. He's just signed a new contract, so I can't see that happening. But it's
it's very unlikely. But we've all been there, mate. We've been in work environments, but and management in particular. Sometimes you will need a change. Sometimes the place has outgrown you, or you've outgrown the place, or
totally.
something changed.
I mean, when we look back, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. But when we look back at Brendan Rodgers,
100%.
Yes, as much as we criticised him, and we only now look back and go, well, it actually probably wasn't all his fault.
No.
But sometimes, David Moyes, for example, sometimes you just need a change just to freshen things up a bit, or have a move around or something,
Yeah, because Arsenal seem to be carrying a hangover, and the hangover seems to go back even beyond Arteta, but his solutions aren't fixing it.
Yeah.
Which is
whatever we said about Fernandes, and I still I'd slap him as much as I'd see him. I'd run as quick as I could around the corner. But what are you the player that you want to go up and take the first penalty, isn't he?
Yeah, well, exactly. To be fair, mate, if you slapped him and ran around the corner, you'd probably peek your head back round and see him on the floor doing this. So I wouldn't worry about him chasing you down with a baseball bat or anything like that. So
I'd kick him on the shins and he'd go down going, oh, my head. Yes.
Just hit him with a handbag, I found. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
But away from home, they were the second best team during open play. Yeah. But as I said right at the end, I went, you're going to win this now, Man United. Look, five great penalties. Havertz was an awful penalty, in fairness. It was awful.
It's bad.
But what do you think about penalties where these players can go, hop and skip?
I was going to talk about this, yeah.
That was almost every single United penalty. So you're running up, the goalkeeper then makes a decision. Now, look, the goalkeeper will get punished if he comes up forward off his line. So they should now start punishing the players if they don't. Once they've started the run, they should not stop or change their mind. Well, obviously, it's up to them to change their mind.
I think it's something, you're right, Chris, has got to be looked into at the end of the season because it's one of those things that there's a rule in place now which one or two players have gone, well, we've not really stretched this rule far enough. And that's why this has started happening. Because it's interesting, as soon as you mentioned the penalties and you were talking about this, the first thought I had was, David Raya was not the goalkeeper they needed in goal because he kept exposing which side he was diving every time. Yeah. And part of the goalkeepers' union with Brad, I don't really like admitting that, seeing that in a goalkeeper, but it was very easy.
He went very early on a lot of them.
Yeah, and then I question why was Ramsdale knocked out the door and why was this guy bought in the first place when you need a striker?
Exactly.
Because really, that to me now, if you've got to be an elite goalkeeper, you've got to be prepared for the style of penalty, because all the clubs are doing it. All the clubs are finding players who will be able to do this. And if you can't do it in the minute, Chris, I think you won't be taking penalties.
I would tend to say with
Mm.
those 5 Man United penalties, at least 3, if not
Mm.
4,
Four.
the goalkeeper had moved before the ball had.
Yes.
And then it gives the striker the opportunity. I'm not saying that they're wrong in doing that, because they're allowed to do it. So they're not breaking any rules. I just don't agree with the rule. But
Yeah.
that gives the striker, they say, oh, he's gone that way, and just tap it the other way if you want.
Yeah.
There's no force behind it. But
Yeah.
Havertz missed it. Actually, wasn't very good. And obviously, once Zerkey had put his in, that was it, all over. Good night. And I've got to say, looking at the 120 minutes, I'd sooner be playing Man United than Arsenal. Oops, we
Agreed.
are.
Agreed. No, I agree. I agree with you, Chris, 100%. Out of the two of them, I definitely prefer to have Man United, which
But
luckily
we
we're
are
getting.
playing Man United. And the funny thing is,
Mm.
and I was kind of jesting at the time, but being in the same room as 3 Man United fans, and one or two other, well, I'm married to him, so I better support Man United as well. Evening, Sarah. It's a case of, I jokingly said, yeah, Leicester get Man United in the next round. I didn't bloody expect it to happen, but I did call it.
Yeah.
But
I
do you
was
know
so
what?
disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah, we will come on to that later. But yeah, so those are the 2 games that we were going to look at in any detail at all. So we are going to very, very, very quickly run through the other results. Friday night, Wickham winning in an FA Cup tie. Doesn't that bring back bad memories?
Oh, it does indeed, mate.
Yeah, on the Friday. But
And
Aston Villa 2, West Ham United 1. For the night tonight, Matthew, I was an Aston Villa fan. What a shame for Graham Potter not.
Yes, exactly. What a shame he didn't get off to winning ways in his first game. Luckily, it's a free shot for him anyway, isn't it, mate? But the Wickham one's a funny one, because that obviously was a bit of a surprise, I guess, in the circumstances. Portsmouth being a championship team, not in the best of form, but Wickham, fair play to them. They've been to the championship once before, haven't they? Like Burton Albion and Yeovil Town, and they might be getting back up there in a minute. So they're a team you don't want to play next round, Wickham, definitely.
No. Here we go. We'll quickly run through these. Birmingham 2, Lincoln City 1. Bristol 1, Wolves 2. Not convincing, but Wolves have gone through. Blackburn Rovers beating Middlesbrough. Liverpool 4, Accrington Stanley 0. Exactly. Liverpool did what they had to do, didn't they, really?
Yeah, it's a shame for Accrington, isn't it? But it wasn't, I think Liverpool in some ways actually didn't even really fully go for it either, which is probably the concerning thing. But they got it done. Walk in the park, nice cheaped out for all the families. And there we go. On to the next round. They're probably going to win the competition, Chris.
Yeah, probably. And fair, look, Accrington, I've been to Accrington. I used to live 10 minutes down the road from Accrington when I lived in Burnley. And look, they'll have had their moment, in the sun. So good luck to them. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Leicester 6, Queen's Park Rangers 2. Bournemouth, they demoralised managerless West Bromwich Albion.
Cool. Weren't West Brom 1-0 up in that game as well?
I'm not sure. They may well have been.
They were. I think they were, if I remember, mate. They were 1-0 up. Yeah. Cool.
And in a weekend where we didn't have any other surprise, because I think all the games pretty much went the way we'd expect them to, Brentford 0, Plymouth Argyle without Rooney in charge 1.
That was
expected.
That was a hell of a shock. I tell you what, I think that's, if you think about that, Chris, this is the insanity of the FA Cup for you, which is why we love it. The team with the best home form in the Premier League have lost to the team with the worst away form in the Championship, which is just an utter explosions, fireworks going off, all the rest of it. So well done to Plymouth, and I hope for Plymouth they got Liverpool, Nottingham Forest. No, Plymouth, they got Liverpool, didn't they, at home next round? We'll get to. I really hope for them they have a wonderful night that game, and I really hope they have a really good performance. There's no chance of them winning, but I think a good performance of Plymouth on that day could give them such a confidence boost in their championship run, which obviously has been completely nearly derailed by Wayne Rooney's elements. The other result I mentioned from this stop, which I'm sure you know I'm going to want to mention, is Exeter City beating Oxford United, which obviously is League One versus Championship, and Exeter have got Forest in the next round at home. So I was chuffed for that, because obviously I've got mates of mine who Exeter fans from where I live and stuff like that. And obviously I've got a tie to Oxford United as well. So I wasn't overly surprised by that, because I thought if Exeter are going to beat someone, Oxford's a perfect team. But well done for them, because they're really fighting over their head for their budget for League One. Because of course, Southwest clubs, mate, we haven't got the money to be going up to Sunderland. That's why people like Plymouth always struggle in these things.
Exeter didn't bend any sort of studs or anything, did they? Weren't they involved with
They're owned by fans. They're owned by fans. Oh, there was a time, mate, when I was at school, this happened. This is a true story from my hometown. When I was at school, of course, there was a famous investment from Uri Geller and Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson ended up in my hometown, and his bodyguard is someone who still lives in the local community. I won't mention his name; people know who he is. And but no, it was a big thing, mate. The Jacksons moved to North Devon and all sorts for a while. It was a very bizarre time to live in North Devon. Honestly, I remember Michael Jackson's spotlight at Exeter City's football ground. It was bizarre.
Chelsea 5, Morecambe 0, only 1-0 at half time, but they did what they had to do. Brighton doing what they needed to do, 4-0 away at Norwich. Forest 2-0 against managerless Luton Town. Reading 1, Burnley, top of the Championship 3. Sunderland 1, Stoke City 2. Guess who scored there? Just very quickly talking, they are talking about recalling Tom Cannon from Stoke. Now, there is rumours that there are 2 or 3 Championship clubs that want to actually buy him. So we might be pulling him back to buy, but why not just pull him back and stick him in if we can pull him back, which a lot of people were saying we couldn't, but obviously now we can do, because that's what Rudy's talking about. Get him back and get him in a bloody Leicester shirt. That's what I say. Leeds making hard work of it in the Yorkshire derby against Harrogate Town. Manchester City doing what Manchester City needed to do, which was put 8 past near neighbours Salford City. And Coventry, I think they finally get, I'm just trying to have a look, finally getting through on penalties against Sheffield Wednesday. And then we had Sunday's games yesterday. All making hard work of it against Doncaster, 5-4. Now, this was the controversial one about not having extra time. Not having replays in this.
That's right.
Tamworth 0, Tottenham 3. Look, I can understand, and I suppose because I'm in the Premier League, even though when I was in the Championship, I'm quite happy not to have replays in the FA Cup. Because Tamworth could have won. Let's say Tamworth had gone 1-0 up,
which they nearly did in the 96th minute.
Well, exactly. If they did, then they would be in the next round and possibly get some money from that. What annoys me is that they are saying, nope, we cannot have extra games by having replays in the FA Cup. But look, tell you what, we'll have 2-legged semi-finals in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, it's a bizarre one, isn't it, mate? Yeah, it's very much, I think a lot of this is down to the Super League element that came out, like I was talking about PSR earlier. There's a lot of pressure from the big clubs, because the big clubs want to be playing European football for their money. Obviously, clubs like Tamworth will be playing the big clubs in England for the same percentage of money, just on a smaller scale, right? So, I mean, I'm disappointed, because I obviously, watching that game in particular reminded me of why I loved football. Because it was a small stadium, it was close, and it was. I tell you what, and actually, I'm going to sound controversial here. Credit to Tottenham, because I know they were 0-0, and I know they could have lost the game, and everyone's giving them a little bit of banter. But this is not a usual thing for these football teams to go and play in anymore. You normally have a big stadium with 50, 60,000 people. You'd hear a general wall of noise. You're not going to hear that guy giving you the V's and the symbols and all that. Not to do them, but you will in this game, and you've got to deal with it. Andrew literally was on TikTok with that thing. Oh, not my microphone over there, but it was on TikTok with basically getting into it with the fans, because they were calling him all sorts and right to his face. So credit to them for that. But it's why we love the game. And also, just to quickly go back to your previous point, Doncaster beat Hull on penalties, not Hull, mate, because I just double checked it. It was 5-4 to Doncaster. You got it the wrong way round above it.
Can I just say, copy and paste?
Oh, where do you copy it from? Sky Sports?
I think it was, yes.
Yeah, well, Sky Sports have got that wrong because Hull City lost 5-4 to Doncaster Rover on
It
penalties.
might not have been Sky Sports, but yes, that is a copy and paste job. With all of those, to be honest with you, I'm impressed that if that's the only mistake I've made.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
you've done very well. Yeah,
I'm sorry. What is more magical, third
yeah.
round of FA Cups or semi-finals of the Carabao Cup? A
Oh, I'd
cup
say
competition that nobody really gives two shits about.
no.
Or even just have replays in this round.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Let's say
Oh,
Tamworth had somehow gone through,
mm.
they may have got a Bromley in the next round, not
I,
getting much.
yeah. Well, I tell you what's disturbing for me about it, Chris, and I'm going to use the word disturbing, even though it's quite a dark word. There was a time, obviously, with all this Super League talk, and there was also other rumours that the Premier League was trying to. There were rumours, so they're rumours, right, guys? Don't read too much into them. There was talk that they were trying to persuade the EFL to take B Premier League teams into League Two to be a part of it, like they've got in Holland, where you've got like the Ajax B team in the second division and the
Right.
PSV B team. And so it makes me wonder that if this isn't a move to put more financial pressure on the lower clubs, which would be a horrible thing to do, but this is the way they make their money. And yeah, so it concerns me generally where football is heading. I mean, the Premier League was ironically formed because some of the owners were a bit put out with how the Football League was run, really, and they wanted it to be run better. They wanted this, and that. I would suggest now the Football League is in that position again, and they are not doing enough to make sure these things aren't happening because there should be replays in this round for me. Yeah.
Palace, of course, who we've got on Wednesday, struggled against Stockport County 1-0. Ipswich 3 did their job against Bristol Rovers. Newcastle, the shock there was Bromley going ahead.
Well, Bromley founded their entire club on Football Manager the game, don't they? Their scouting and all of it's all analytics from Football Manager. So I wasn't surprised to see them go 1-0 up because they know Newcastle in and out from the game.
Right.
True story. Read about it. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. But obviously, Newcastle prevailed in the end. Southampton 3, Swansea 0. So Southampton did their bit as well. I've got to say, maybe, look, Bromley got knocked out, but Bromley would have got more money from that game than Tamworth got from theirs.
Yes, because of being away.
Yeah. So why isn't there an option that if the home club is a small club like Tamworth, that they can turn around and say, "Can we play it at Tottenham?"
I'm pretty sure you can, actually.
Tottenham would not argue on that. The Tamworth fans might be a little bit pissed off, like, "Oh, we want to see these blue players come to our club." Well, you can have that, or you can go away to Tottenham and get a couple of million.
It's funny, Chris. I'm pretty sure you can actually do this, ironically, because I know it has happened. If I'm not mistaken, it was
usually a case for security or health and safety, isn't it?
Yeah, I have a memory, if I'm right or wrong, of about 20 years ago. We're getting old now. Of Barnsley moving their game to Anfield for this reason to split the TV revenue. It was one where they famously knocked them out at Anfield. I think it was Howard with the goal at the end. But yeah, I think it can happen, but we don't see it often nowadays. I don't know, really. It's a difficult one to call this, isn't it? I mean, if planning wasn't bad nowadays, I'd say just get some scaffolding up and fill it to the ceiling and just fill the stadium up. Like Wolves has done, except they forgot to take it down. They've left it in that corner, haven't they, at Molineux?
That's Oxford, isn't it, with the 3 sides? They could do with some scaffolding at their ground.
Yeah, I was shocked they didn't just put a scaffold rig up there because that's what it was like at Yeovil when I was there one year. It was fantastic.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
Right, the 4th round draw. I couldn't do live because I thought it's usually on a Monday night, but they did it on Sunday, straight after the Arsenal Man United finally got through their game. The 4th round draw. So let's have a look at who got who. Look, second team out, and I've just highlighted the teams that are around us. Man United versus Leicester. I think this is going to be on telly.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, the rude connection. So I'm not overly disappointed. If we go out, look, I said, and I think you agreed with me, if we went out against QPR, I wouldn't have been crying in my soup.
No, me neither.
it's we've got bigger fish to fry this season.
and we've gone out to worse clubs, mate, and we're still there. So,
Well, we have. But like I say, the FA Cup is, and I asked this question in the preview, cup or league, so I wouldn't have lost any sleep if we go out against Manchester United. Again, I won't lose any sleep because we can concentrate then on the league. And if some of the other clubs around us go out, obviously that gives them the advantage of having the rest, etc., etc. But at least if we go out, we're going out to Manchester United.
yeah,
There's no real stigma with it there, is there?
No, exactly. But also, mate, I feel more positive about playing Man United than Arsenal because I think Ruud's got some karma credit in the bank when it comes to Manchester United. So we might have a lucky day. Like, remember that game we beat Liverpool the season we got relegated and we were awful, and it was like a 1-0. We stole it. Salah missed the penalty. I'd expect this sort of game for this Man United Leicester one, where just from karma, the fact they got rid of him after he put, was it 4 or 5 past us or 10 past us in a week, over 2 games. I think there might be some good karma for us.
Leeds of Millwall. I think they playing tonight. Leeds Millwall.
No, because Millwall are playing Dagenham and Redbridge, which is playing tonight, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that is right, Matt. It's Leeds. Sorry, I was looking at I was getting my slash in the wrong place.
I tell you what, mate, the police are hoping Millwall go out.
Yeah, more than likely. Another old Premier League tie: Brighton and Hove Albion versus Chelsea. Preston North End will play the winners of Charlton or Wickham. Exeter hosting Nottingham Forest for you. The first of our rivals are away at Coventry for Ipswich. That actually could be a bit of much of a banana skin for them.
Could be, yeah.
And Wolves at Blackburn Rovers, both away, and both of those are difficult ties for them. Mansfield or Wigan will play Fulham. Birmingham City host Newcastle. Plymouth getting would they prefer to have been away to Liverpool?
Oh no, they'd love it down there. They'll have such a party, mate. Honestly, they'd love it. Yeah.
Everton hosting Bournemouth, again, all Premier League. Villa Tottenham, that will be on the telly. Southampton hosting Burnley, definitely. Well,
that's got 0-0 written all over it, hasn't it?
Well, it has. You've got the bottom of the Premier League playing the top of the Championship.
Yeah, the top of the Championship and normally scores about 20 goals a season. I mean, they do score like 1 goal a game, don't they? They're very much 1-0 to the Burnley now.
Yeah. It's Orient or Derby will host Manchester City, Doncaster Rovers against Crystal Palace, and you think that Palace should win that one, and Stoke City versus Cardiff City. So those are our draw.
Any surprises on there, Chris, you can think of? I'm looking at Doncaster there, the one you just mentioned. And Doncaster, I don't know how good they are on the pitch, but they are like in the top 3 of League 2 in home form. You never know. What do you think?
To me, I think the 2 surprises there will be the Coventry Ipswich and the Blackburn Wolves.
See, I can't buy
Southampton Burnley. And I know you could argue Southampton Burnley wouldn't be a surprise, but it will be because it's a Premier League team versus a Championship team.
It's not a good team for Southampton to play because Burnley are very good defensively in that league, aren't they? That's why I lean towards the 0-0. But it's funny with Coventry. While Lampard's in charge and he's getting used to it, you're not sure what's going to happen with them. Is he going to be Derby County Lampard or is he going to be Everton Lampard?
Yes. You
don't really know yet, do you? So, interesting.
Yeah. Right, I have forgot to load them up, but have you got a tit and arse tonight?
I forgot to do them, mate, to be honest. So actually,
that is fine then.
Yeah, because I'm so used to doing it for the Premier League, and I thought there's so many games to go through here, and I was more interested in catching the highlights for all of them. I've completely forgot to do it.
Works for me.
My apologies, anyone who stayed to the end to see the TNA. Next week, we'll make sure they're doubly as hard for Chris to work out, all right? I promise you.
To be honest with you, I had a few ideas of my own, and I'm trying to think. On. No, I can't think who it was now, so I'm pretty glad. I'm just quickly looking down here to see. I think the Plymouth Argyle temporary manager could have been one of them.
Actually, Chris, to be fair, we don't even really have to debate that. That surely must be the one of the weekend, Plymouth beating Brentford away, because that is bonkers. That's a bonkers.
Well, at least we're giving Plymouth the tit, then Brentford are the arse, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. Although I don't know, let's think there must be someone else who did worse than Brentford. Because I mean, we'll give Brentford a pass for one bad game at season. But I did say in the Premier League review show, if their home form started dipping, they might end up in a relegation battle. And if you're going to lose to Plymouth and then you lose all your home games to the end of the season, who knows? Maybe it'll be Brentford versus Leicester the final days to see who stays up.
Indeed. And obviously, the big news is. Moyes going back to Everton and Cooper going to West Ham.
Yeah, I know. Potter to West Ham, wasn't it? Yeah, but know what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's been well. Like I said, I think it's the worst thing possible for us that Everton have got Moyes, because he'll be a more expansive version of Dyche, and they might score goals now, which means they're going to be more hard work. But I don't know, mate. I believe in history repeating itself. We got relegated and we were putting all that money into our new stadium, so I still got a sneaky feeling they're not quite over the line yet.
And I thought I've just remembered who my award of the week, the Tit Award, which is the good award, even though it's called that, does actually go to Bayindir, the goalkeeper for Manchester United.
Which is a very, very fair result, because actually there was a few clean-cut chances in that game which, if he hadn't saved, like the header from Rice, Manchester United wouldn't have had a sniff. So that's a very good point, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that he was my Tit Award, a tit being good.
Yeah. Sorry if you're confused, guys. We're trying to work out the terminology ourselves with Facebook and YouTube's guidelines. So
Tom's. What was it? Tom's impressive trophy, wasn't it, or something?
Tom's impactful trophy, I think we went for. Tom's impactful.
We'll rename it for next week, because I think we should give it some Man of the Week and maybe Donkey of the Week or something. I think
guys,
the week we could get away with.
I was going to say the comment section is open, so after the show, put some ideas in there for us.
Yes. We need ideas for the good and bad awards. Tom, it's been a long one, but look, so many games to get through. Unbelievable. But look, we're through. We're in the next round.
Yeah, this is the new Leicester way. Look.
Eat, sleep, conquer, repeat. Yes.
That started from Saturday, so Wednesday we expect the same, boys.
I'll go for that. Yeah, if we don't do it on Wednesday, it'll all be a waste of time, wouldn't it? And Millwall are leading Dagenham and Redbridge 1-0, by the way. So
that means we'll have VAR in the FA Cup final. Damn.
Yeah. Prashat, thank you very much for your thanks, sir. Really do appreciate it. And look, apart from one glitch, you were with us for the whole show, Tom.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it back and see how much I was stuttering or coming across like a frozen goldfish at times.
You weren't, actually, to be honest with you.
Okay.
You weren't. You were okay.
Oh,
you were okay.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone, for sticking with me.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a
minute,
mate.
Stay online. We'll do a very quick one with you afterwards.
Yeah, no worries. Me too. See you in a minute. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, chat. Cheers.
Thanks very much there to Tom. Let me just make this up. There we go. So we will be back tomorrow with the it's a chat City. So basically we'll be chatting a lot of City. That's what we'll be doing. We're talking PSR. We'll have that news tomorrow, and we've got both Craig and Kate will be picking their teams to play QPR. I need to go and water the plants. Thanks to everybody that was in. Thanks to Tom. If you are new, please do subscribe. If you're still with us, please do smash the likes. Really do appreciate it. Thanks very much to everybody who joined us in the chat. I will see you tomorrow night, 7:00, when we will be doing, like I say, the Chat City show. Be careful how I say that. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.